Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. A three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Good evening, Cavs fans, and welcome to another installment of The Block, The Shot, The Stop, a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Tim Daniel. He's Kevin Lynch, and tonight we are recapping a down-to-the-wire, way too close for comfort, 118-117 win over the Charlotte Hornets for the Cavaliers to extend their win streak now to 13 in a row. Kevin, I just want to say one quick thing before I let you do your analysis here. Well, where'd he go?
I'm here. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I can understand that he had an incredible game, but seeing Miles Bridges have that turnover there at the end that really kind of gave the Cavs a little extra breath. I just really hate when bad things happen to good people. I just really hate it.
I love that you want to start the show with the same thing you just skied out or whatever the message is on Blue Sky. Yeah, I mean, Miles Bridges, you can't say anyone had a bad game when they had 46 points, but he had a good game tonight, but he's a guy who averages 20 points a game because he shoots a ton and shoots a bad percentage. And isn't the greatest person on top of that. Yeah, but that's all the Miles Bridges analysis I want to do. I want to talk about the Cavs. This was, as I don't know, lack of a better term, boring of a 1-point win.
Yes, it was.
It was not a particularly entertaining game. It's great because the Cavs did not have it tonight.
No, they did not.
Particularly offensively, and found a way to win. It's funny. Like, had we put out a bet today, which I forgot, that's on me. I'll do better next time. But my bet honestly was going to be, and we never do this, but I was going to bet like Charlotte plus 16.5 because that's just so many points.
Yeah,
and this is an NBA team. And they did play the Cavs tough at least once in their earlier matchups, and it's at home. The Cavs are on such a run. I just felt like it'd be a closer game. It wouldn't be a huge blowout tonight. And that said, we'll get into the. I'll push it back to you and see where you want to start. I got a few things about this game. In particular, I think most of the actions in the fourth quarter, which we'll talk about, but where do you want to start?
Not necessarily a person like we normally do. We kind of go player by player, and we will do that. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to start with Mobley's three he made in the fourth. Just how big that was, because he hadn't made it through the whole game. He's really slumped from three for a few weeks now. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't been like what we saw at the beginning of the year. So tonight he's 0 for 4 from three. Going into that shot, and the clock's running down. Charlotte, I believe, just took the lead, and he has a slide step put up in Miles Bridges' eye,
crossed over,
at the end of the shot clock, and hits the shot. And it's like, I want to say, we do this thing all the time, and I know every Cavs podcast does, and I'm sure there's people who are sick of hearing it. The maturation process of Evan Mobley has been this thing that's been like one of the biggest storylines of the year. And we always say we didn't see this last year. We didn't see this last year. So we didn't see this last year. And we didn't. I don't think we saw that in December.
That was the most difficult 3-point shot I've ever seen him make.
Yeah.
Just degree of difficulty, crossing someone up, kind of fading to his left as the shot clock's winding down, like that. I may be missing one, but as far as what I can recall, that's like the most difficult 3-point shot I've ever seen him make.
Yeah, and that was such a huge point in the game. Mitchell's free throws, although he missed the last two, really kind of came through big, obviously, for his team. I really appreciate that they were having him kind of held the ball there at the end. I know 12 of 18 from the free throw line is okay. 12 of 18 from the free throw line for Donovan Mitchell is what happened. But kind of hit a few things that really needed to hit. And like I said, at a night like this, this is kind of pretty wild. So Sydney actually posted here real quick. At one point in the fourth quarter, Charlotte had a 92% chance to win per one of Skylar Receiver Tools, ESPN BPI.
Yeah, it was. So we'll talk about that fourth quarter. I wrote down a couple of things. It was a tight game going into the fourth quarter. I think I want to say the Cavs were up maybe a couple of points, and then Charlotte went on like a 15-3 run over a 5-minute segment from about 10 minutes and change to the 5.5-minute mark, and they end up going up 9. They're up 104-95. That was the point. Either like in the next 30 seconds to a minute, this game's either going to get away from them and you just get the guys out, or you rally, right? And the Cavs rallied. They, like, from that point, they went on a 14-2 run to turn that 9-point deficit into a 2-point lead, and they did it mostly with defense. It was not a Cavalanche where they came down, they hit like 5 shots in a row.
Right.
They stopped. Charlotte went, I think, 1 for 10, 1 for 11 in that stretch, in that 5-minute stretch. They just kept them from scoring and kept them off the offensive boards. And instead of having their kind of offensive explosion that we're used to, they methodically came back in the game over about a 5-minute stretch.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we mention it because obviously this was really nice defense down the stretch for the Cavs in that game. They also made Charlotte take really stupid shots down the stretch of this game, which Charlotte's not exactly a team that's like not keen to taking really stupid shots. So I want to make sure we get that out there.
You said it, not me.
But like before LaMelo Ball fouls out, he takes those 2 like insanely deep shots and they get the offensive rebound and get it back to him. And he misses it again. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, you guys have a chance to win the game. Then he fouls out. And then it's like Nick Smith Jr. It's like, God, you're closing games with Nick Smith Jr. and he has the ball in his hands. You're like, okay, that's not a great idea either. But on the other end of it, yeah, I mean, Cleveland plays such great defense. Mobley blocks that shot there. With Nurkic trying to get that shot, get the ball in the rim, and then Mitchell drops that long rebound, which is not something he normally does, and that was kind of surprising. But the Cavs defense really kind of stepping up, and something Doherty said that I think I really want to kind of point out that I really agree with, and we've seen this now since the Boston game. We are now at that point with this team because they have had so much success and they have played so well that every team sees who they are, and every team wants to every NBA team wants to win a game. Obviously, I'm not trying to get into that whole thing, but they are going to get every team's best effort at this point because everyone wants to get their chance to beat the Cavaliers.
Yeah, they are. They are like, I agree with that, but they're also like, it's not quite to the level of like the defending champions or something,
sure.
right?
Yes, I agree.
It's on par with OKC. They're at the top of the standings, and they've been at the top of the standings. And I gotta plug my computer, and I just thought it's about to die. This is good podcasting right
I've
here.
done that before. I've done that.
I was like, so yeah, I mean, I think that's somewhat true. I also think that people underestimate how hard NBA teams just play.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
The whole, it's such a fabulous, it's such a, line by a certain group of sports fans, whether they're NBA fans or not, is that they don't try hard enough, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
I hate that crap.
Are you
so
watching
much.
the games? Like,
Yeah.
are you watching the games? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like every single guy goes out 100% all game long. Sometimes there's a little bit of pacing yourself, especially when you're in a back-to-back, a third game in 4 nights. There is a little bit of that, but like, I don't understand how you make an argument that guys aren't putting in high-level efforts in these games. Like, it's wild to me.
That, and then, like you kind of mentioned it. I mean, it's a possibility this team could be a little worn out. They've played a lot of late. They haven't really had a 2 nights off in a long time. And so it has been a lot of every other night, like we saw there for stretches. So that can play a part in it too. Obviously, it's like I said, you're talking about that. You're talking about the NBA. You're talking about the fact they are a team that's had a lot of success, that people maybe want to be the team that potentially has this closes out the win streak. And then you have, just kind of the ways of the season. And we're kind of hitting that point now where, the Cavs know they're in the playoffs and they are more than likely going to be the number 1 seed. So maybe they don't feel like they have to like bust their ass every game as much as they have. And I'm not saying that's the case, but
it's human nature. Like,
yeah,
I like to equate it to like all of us. We all have day jobs, right? Do you bring your A-level number 1 effort every single day, or are there days where you just slept really bad the night before, or you got a fight with your spouse, or like whatever? Some days you're just not on the top of your game, no matter what you do for a living. So I don't know. I don't think that equates to lack of effort. I think that's equates to like being human beings that just happen to be the greatest athletes in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. So let's get to some player stuff here, Kev, to kind of talk about this at the game tonight. And I think I'm about to do something we haven't done in our 80-something episodes to start the show. I'm going to start with Sam Merrill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam.
Big Sam tonight, 12 points, 4 of 4 from 3. I mean, really kind of was in his 19 minutes. You can make the case was a giant difference maker for the team tonight.
He was, and because it's a little bit of a weird game where like he was one of the few guys that maybe had stats above his like season averages. Like everyone kind of played to or slightly below their season averages. But I do think, the kind of the energy and the spark and the lift that this team has so commonly gotten from like Ty Jerome and George Niang when he's on the team and everything. They got it again from DeAndre Hunter tonight, because I think they get it from him every night. And I thought Sam Merrill was the other guy that really made a little bit of a difference. He hit, I think, 3 of those threes in the second quarter when they opened up the game and got that 11-point lead. And yeah, Sam's really solid. I mean, yes, in some ways he's a 3-point specialist, but like he's underrated as just like a defender, just like at the very least, like being in the right spots, being willing to take charges, putting in high level efforts. It just makes a lot of winning plays. It just makes guy who finds a loose ball all the time, or sets a good screen, hits a shot when you need it. I think Sam hasn't had quite as good a year as you would have hoped from 3-point shooting, though his stats have been trending up the last month or two. But overall, I think he has had a really solid year from the standpoint of could be it could be a rotation guy just like the Cavs do. Could be a very solid 9th guy on a good team.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree with you on that. You mentioned DeAndre Hunter, and he had a great game. I mean, you could make the case he was the best player on the team tonight. But I think that there's one particular moment that really kind of gave the Cavs that little bit of a cushion in the fourth quarter. And it's obviously his putback lay-in that he gets on the rebounds, and then goes down the next possession and forces Bridges to have the turnover that I made fun of him for. I mean, that basically, I know they won by 1, and I know that there was Charlotte hit a couple more shots, and Mitchell had to go to the line a little bit more, but that kind of gave them the 2-possession cushion they really needed to put this game away.
Yeah, and he actually had a really nice defensive effort the next time down too, that he got called for a questionable foul on. It's one of those where, yes, he did touch Bridges, but like I thought it was a little bit more incidental contact. But yeah, DeAndre continues to be exactly what this Cavs team needs. Like he's playing the role that they brought him in for, and that's to be a really good wing defender and hit threes. And then he's showing you a little bit more. He's rebounding at a higher rate than he did in Atlanta. He is showing you a little bit more offensively, like just putting the ball on the floor, back cutting, things like that. Like that I don't really remember seeing. And not that I watch every Hawks game, but I don't remember seeing from him a ton. So, I mean, so far he couldn't have been any better. And the one thing tonight. So on the last episode, Skylar and I talked a lot about like how with DeAndre Hunter coming in and playing such a key role, it seems like Jared Allen was the guy who like is losing the most minutes, particularly losing fourth quarter minutes, right? It's kind of like DeAndre Hunter's been replacing Jared Allen in the fourth quarter instead of replacing Max Strus, like a lot of us thought that would be the case. I believe tonight is the first game in the 11 games that DeAndre Hunter's played that the top 5 minutes guys on the Cavs were the big 4 and DeAndre Hunter.
I think you're right.
And I felt like I saw that 5 on the floor a little bit more, and they were the 5 on the floor during that comeback and to close out the game tonight. For the most part, they did a lot of subbing, offense, defense, subbing in and out, but like for the most part, it was those 5 on the floor.
Yeah, on Hunter, I just want to kind of point out, so, we saw him play in person on Sunday, obviously. And when I went down and, you and I went our separate ways, and I snuck down to the very, very bottom, and no one said anything to me. Watching him kind of play with this team and just kind of seeing him in person kind of really made me appreciate him even more. Just seems like he kind of, I don't want to do the whole like super high intelligent basketball IQ guy, even though he is. But just always seems like he's in the right spot offensively or defensively that he needs to be on for this team. And just seeing that in person just kind of like opened my eyes to it a little more. And you kind of saw a lot of that tonight, especially in a close game like this.
Yeah, you definitely did. And I guess before, and we'll talk more about the individual players. I just want to, it's a little bit of change of subjects, but I just want to get to this. I was planning to like talk about this at the front of the show. Cause like, I thought I like to start with what I thought was the biggest difference in the game tonight. And I try and do something that's a little bit below the surface of the obvious, so to speak. I mean, tonight, I don't know if this is below the obvious, but the Cavs shot 51 free throws. Like for scale, they averaged 21 and a half a game on the season. And not only that, and you talked about Donovan Mitchell being a little bit inconsistent from the free throw line, and some of that was just missing his last 2. He makes his last 2, then it's not as
different conversation
as bad. But taking away Mitchell, the rest of the team was 31 of 33 from the line, which is obviously phenomenal. So, that there's lots of ways to win a basketball game, and getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls on your opponents, scoring while the clock is stopped, especially when you're trying to come back in a game, is one of the most boring ones, but it can be very effective. And that's what the Cavs tonight. Cavs like force the action to get to the line, particularly on a night where they just weren't shooting very well at all from 2, from 3. They just were off tonight. So what you do when you're not hitting your jump shots is you attack the basket and try and get easy shots or get to the free throw line. And that's the thing I think they did most effectively tonight.
Yeah, Sydney points out here the starting lineup was 4 of 20 from 3. And we already talked about Mobley's 1. That was really kind of one of the bigger shots of the game. So, Mobley goes 1 of 5, Mitchell 0 of 6, Strus 0 of 3, and Garland 3 of 6. Garland, you mentioned the line, was 9 of 9 from the line tonight. So, humongous game for him on the, kind of keeping the team alive and putting the game away when needed, especially because tonight wasn't your usual Darius Garland night of like 22 and 6 with, a couple steals in there. It was just kind of like I said, everything was kind of discombobulated, and he found his rhythm at the line, and that really kind of just helped his team really kind of carry the victory tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a boring way to win a basketball game.
Very boring recap episode to do that.
When you shoot 30 more free throws than the other team is, you're almost always going to win, and you're almost always going to win by more than 1 point. I think that kind of speaks to how off the Cavs were in other areas of the game. But that's the thing I'm like most like positive about the Cavs, and we like to keep it positive when we can. Like I was very encouraged that they, for a night where almost nothing was working offensively, when it's not working offensively, put your head down, go to the basket, try and get a dunk, try and get a layup, try and get to the free throw line, and that's what they did. Particularly, I think. Particularly, they shot a lot of free throws in the second half, kind of, and in the fourth quarter when they're making this comeback. Yeah,
I mean, to put in context of what you're saying, they had 13 less assists tonight than the Hornets.
Yeah.
Pretty uncommon for the Cavs to have that circumstance, but they were also really good at, I shouldn't say really good, but they were better tonight against the team they were playing at, forcing points off turnovers. They had a 5-point advantage there. So,
No, you that's a good call out by you, because kind of on the flip side, like a stat that really points to them being off tonight was they average about 29 assists a game,
Yeah.
16 tonight, and that's a combination of not hitting shots for sure, and probably not doing as high level of playmaking as you're used to them doing to get really high quality shots. So again, but again, keeping it positive. Like you're not going to hit shots every game. You're going to hit lulls in the NBA, and tonight was very much a just find a way to win type of game, even against the Hornets, and that they were able to do it again.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, transition offense really won them the game tonight. Transition offense and free throws was kind of really the big takeaway for this. So, and that happens sometimes in the league. So, want to kind of real quick, we'll go through the rest of the offense. I mean, the rest of the team. Just kind of we can touch on them in particular. Mobley double tonight, 19 and 10. Jared Allen 14 and 11. Max Strus only took 3 shots tonight, missed all 3, but they get 3 free throws made as well. Mobley tonight, I kind of want to talk a little bit more because. The 2 blocks obviously had the 4 assists in a game where we're kind of talking about everything wasn't going their way offensively and they had to find a way to win. I feel like this is like Evan Mobley put on his big boy pants and made things happen tonight for this team.
Yeah, he did. He was very solid today. I think that's the best way to say it. And frankly, he had very advantageous matchups too.
Yes, he did.
I actually would have thought Evan might have had an even better offensive game, but he didn't force anything. He only took 13 shots, which I'm always in favor of Evan getting up towards 20 shots.
Me too. Me too.
But he kind of a theme for the night. Found a way to get to the line. Got to the line 7 times, hit 6 of them. Was only 1 for 5 from the 3, but that one he hit was was a really big one. And I don't know if this has happened all year, but he was tied for team lead in assists. Neither Mitchell or Garland was led the team in assists tonight. It was, or Ty Jerome for that matter. It was Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter were tied with 4 for most assists on the team, which is very atypical.
Yeah, Ty Jerome didn't even take a 3 tonight.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised his minutes were down. I know he's been playing some heavy minutes, so I don't know if that was by design or what. But 17 minutes tonight. He's been regularly into the 20s, up around 25 most of the time lately.
Yeah, I mean he does Russillo's show, so he can kind of be big time now and kind of take a little bit of kick his feet up a little more. Which I haven't had a chance to listen to yet. I'll probably listen to tomorrow when I'm doing my chores. But yeah, I mean, kind of a night where it was just kind of a weird night for him. Dean Wade, no buckets tonight, but I thought defensively, kind of really, even though there's nothing to show in the box score besides 3 rebounds, I thought really kind of helped out a lot, especially with Bridges kind of having his game. I'm trying not to make fun of the Hornets, even though it's so easy, but we don't
need to make fun of them. They played really
awesome.
It is really easy when you're frankly have one of the worst records in the league in any sport or whatever to just kind of mail it in and put in a half effort or something. That they did not do. They put in a full effort. They do take bad shots from time to time, like the one you were talking about where LaMelo
from time to time.
Yeah, when LaMelo was out of the game for 8 minutes. The Hornets built a 9-point lead and immediately came in and shot a 28-footer within the first 3 seconds. He was back on the court.
They got another one.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, give the Hornets put in high level efforts. I think the Cavs ended up having a 3-point advantage in rebounding for a good part of the game. The Hornets were out rebounding them, and frankly, for the first 3.5 quarters, I thought the Hornets kind of ran better offense than the Cavs did for large portions of it. And then the Cavs kind of like I said, they buckled it. They basically waited till it was now or never to make their move, and they did, and they were able to pull this one out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so closing thoughts on this one before we move to Sunday?
No, closing thoughts. Win in advance, right? We're in March. Yeah. That's it. Win in advance. I mean, my only thought is it is. I was trying to look up stats for teams that have had the most 12-game winning streaks in a season, because now they have had winning streaks of 15, 12, and 13 games. That is 40 games worth of win streaks over over 3 of them. Just so incredible to be able to play that consistently good and to not have like just one off, like tonight was an off night. Tonight's a night, frankly, you kind of should lose the game if you play as bad as the Cavs did in a lot of areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just continuing to find a way to win. Just I guess some people, I don't know, societies tends to trend towards negative nowadays. They'd be like, how do we only beat the Hornets by 1? Like, you know, this is terrible effort, blah, blah, blah. Like they played a bad game and found a way to win. Be happy.
Yeah. The NBA is hard, people. It's really hard. I know they've made it look easy for a lot of the year, but it is hard.
Yep. Agreed.
So that brings us to Sunday, which is the third matchup of the season with the Milwaukee Bucks. And Kevin, I had to look up. I did not realize it's been since like December that they've played the Bucks. I feel like it's been forever. But this is like, if you're looking ahead, if you're eyeing the postseason, and you as we all are, this is a potential round 2 matchup in the Eastern Conference semis against this Bucks team, because they are sitting as the 4 seed. They're currently on a 4-game win streak and have played really pretty well of late. Lillard shot the ball a lot better than he had at the beginning of the season. Giannis is Giannis. Kyle Kuzma has been really good for them, shockingly, since they made the trade. You know, Bobby Portis got himself in a little trouble, but, you know, that's not something we have to talk about here. But it's a good basketball team. I've already made my point about them a million times. I don't believe in them because of who their coach is. He will find a way to coach them out of a couple games in a series that they will lose heartbreakingly. But got to give them credit, man. They played really well. They're 7th in the league in pace. They're 11th overall in offensive points per game. They're 13th in offensive rating, but they are a top 10 defense in the league as well.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they have one of the top, I don't know, 2 or 3 best players in the world, and Giannis still is. Especially, he might be the best 2-way player in the world when you include how he's one of the best defenders in defenders in the league, and has been for a long time, to go along with what he does in the offensive end of the floor. Yeah, their team definitely looks a little bit different with some moves they made. Probably for the better, but I don't think it's like for that much better for the moves they did. Right. I mean, a lot of their team is like Giannis and Dame Lillard's been phenomenal this year.
He's
like
really
good. He got a lot of flack for last year, and everybody thought maybe he was starting to you know, be on the decline and everything. And he is having one of the best years of his career this year. He's been really really phenomenal.
Yeah, and they are playing tomorrow, so they are going to Cleveland on the second game of a back-to-back. So that could be good news for the Cavs. But in their last game, they flat out smoked the Dallas Mavericks, which I understand everyone's doing that these days with all the injuries they've had. But Lillard was phenomenal in that game, 11 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3, had 34 points, and Giannis had 32. When they play like that, they're really hard to beat when you're getting games from those 2 guys like that as well. In a game where literally, Kevin, Brook Lopez took 1 shot. He played 23 minutes. They didn't need him to do anything else. They just kind of told Giannis and Dame to kind of take care of business. Where I really like what they did at the trade deadline is they really got deeper bench-wise. They really, really added their team's depth. I know Kuzma starts for them, but bringing in Kevin Porter Jr., former Cavalier, bringing in Jericho Sims, who has been decent for them, shockingly, for barely being the 3rd or 4th pick for the Knicks. I thought that, you know, the 3 or 4 guys they brought in really helped them a lot. So I think Cleveland's got their work cut out from this game, even if it is the second game of back-to-back. Hopefully that means that they take it a little easier on us. But I know you and I are both in the belief that we don't want Giannis and Dame to sit out because we want Cleveland to beat them at their best. So, but, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how they look, because the night before they play Orlando, who also is very physical defensively, but can't put a ball in the bucket for their life.
Yeah. I'm going to say something about, like, I like Dame and Giannis are 2 of my favorite players to watch. I do think they have solid role players and have, you know, increased their depth. I agree with you there. But one thing, because you brought up Kevin Porter Jr., there is 0 chance we end the season without Bobby Portis decking Kevin Porter Jr. As a 2015, 2016 Bulls season ticket holder, I can tell you with every certainty of my body, if FanDuel or anybody else is going to give you stats, will Bobby Portis punch Kevin Porter Jr. before the end of the season? Take the yes.
Yes. I say yes minus 110.
Yes. I would pay more juice and have no problem with it. But yeah, I just they're just two of the more I say this tongue in cheek, but they are two more of the on edge, kind of always looking always playing with a real big chip on their shoulder kind of thing. And I just see those guys, they're either going to be best friends or they're going to get in a boxing match, one or the other.
Yeah. It's like what everyone thought Butler and Draymond were going to be, when really it's like, no, those are the guys Jimmy likes to play with.
Mm-hmm.
You could have just taken that opinion and brought it to Milwaukee and put it for these two guys.
Sure.
To a much lower extent, obviously, of player, but
yeah. Yeah, and I think this is a tough game for the Cavs, because if the Bucks don't, rest people will be on the second night of a back-to-back, which I agree with you. I really hope they don't. You have to have a feeling they're either the Bucks are coming into this game one of two extremes. They're either going to be like, we're just rest guys and don't, because they're on a back-to-back and we don't, we may face Cleveland in the playoffs and just kind of not take the game super, super serious, or they're gonna want to like prove a point and come in and they're gonna be super hyped up and they'll have the game at home. And so I think, depending on who's playing for the Bucks, and it will be telling. But assuming both teams are at full strength, I think this is gonna be a really difficult game for the Cavs.
I do too, and I do think Milwaukee probably has a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth in the last cast matchup, which was the first game after the NBA Cup when the Bucks won and Cleveland put the people's elbow on them.
Yeah. So I'm recalling. I was trying to recall the last game that we played. And now you saying that, I remember, like, came right out of the NBA Cup. We thought they might not play everyone, right, because they're coming out of the NBA Cup. But I think they did for the most part. They did,
and Cleveland smacked them.
And Cleveland beat them by, I think, 30-ish or something. But yeah, it
wasn't pretty. So with that being said, we will be back here on Sunday after that game to hang out with you all and hopefully talk about the 14th straight Cavs win, and keep DeAndre Hunter's undefeated streak alive. Hasn't lost since he's been a Cavalier. So pretty awesome there. But we're going to go and wrap up tonight's edition of the Block, the Shot, the Stop. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We are definitely seeing on a day-to-day basis that the listeners are growing. The audience is growing, whether that's the people who met us at Southern Tier and just want to are following us along. We can't be more appreciative of everything there as well. Obviously, what a year to start to have a cast podcast, but we'll be back on Sunday. So if you are checking us out for the first time as well, just take a second to subscribe to us on YouTube or your podcast app of choice. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to us, whatever podcast app you're listening to as well. And if you want to be nice, a 5-star review doesn't hurt either. So on behalf of Kevin Lynch, on behalf of Skylar Webker, I am Tim Daniel, saying have a good night, Cleveland.
Go Cavs.